Hey, 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 you're waking up with Craig. Good morning on Wednesday, November 21st. One more day until Thanksgiving. I hope everybody who's driving home has safe travels. Be careful of the snow out there, and I hope everybody has a safe and a happy holiday. Reminder tomorrow, my dad, Coach Gibson, and my brother, Storm Gibson, join the show. Let's get to it with our morning quote. I know I am getting better at golf because I am hitting fewer spectators. Gerald R. Ford. And I know it's a weird quote and it's kind of a funny quote, but sometimes it's as simple as that. I think we overthink things sometimes. And sometimes it's as simple as the little tweak here and there. And you're right, if you're not hitting spectators, you're doing something right. But if we're going to talk about golf, we got to talk about the Shadow Creek Showdown coming up. Tiger, Phil, it is going to be a great matchup. But you know what? The $9 million on the line, it just wasn't enough for Phil and Tiger. Phil said at the press conference yesterday, that he is going to birdie the first hole, and he bet $100,000 on it. And Tiger said, "You're going to birdie the first hole?" And Phil said, "Yeah." And Tiger said, "Double it." They have $200,000 on the line that Phil is going to birdie the first hole, and I guarantee you there are going to be millions of dollars in props bets throughout the course. 18-hole course. It's going to be a great showdown. And I know a lot of experts, and the spread is 4 strokes, 5 strokes. I think it might be a 1 to 2 stroke game just because I think that the competitive nature is going to be so high. They're going to want to keep it close. I think they're both just going to battle it out. But if we're going to talk about battling it out, Duke survives their first true test of the season. They beat Auburn. They hold on. But tonight is the real test against Gonzaga. Duke got up on Auburn, and then they let Auburn get back into the game. If they do that with Gonzaga, they will lose. Gonzaga got back in the game with Arizona and came back and ended up winning by 17 or whatever it was. I think it was 91-74. Duke can't do that with Gonzaga. When you're up 17, put them away and end the game. You might not win by 17. You might only win by 12, 10. But if you're up, get it to 20, get it to 22, and win the game by double digits. Don't let it get back into single digits like they did with Auburn, because a good team like Gonzaga is going to pull that out. But I think tonight, Duke and Gonzaga, the 1 versus 3, my game of the day, I think this is going to be a really good basketball game, and I think there's a lot that we need to look at. It's really the true test of the freshmen. How are they going to handle the pressure? Because a team like Gonzaga is going to go on runs, and how are you going to respond? How are you going to handle it? Duke also needs to shoot the 3 better. They're not shooting the 3 great, so I think if a team can beat Duke, it's right now. But those are 2 heavyweights in college basketball. We're going to talk about 2 heavyweights in the MLB. Red Sox won the World Series. Those are my boys. I love the Red Sox. But the Yankees are coming. And there is a real rumor that Bryce Harper might go to the Yankees to play first base. They might put Machado at short if they get him. They might go get some other guys. This Yankees team is starting to look scary. They got Paxton the other day, the lefty, and he's going to be a stud in their rotation. I'm starting to actually get a little bit worried for the Red Sox. And I think we're loaded. I think we are. I think our pitching needs to step it up a little bit. And I think guys like JBJ who hit well in the postseason need to hit that way the whole year so we can be the number 1 seed and have the home field advantage. But I'm starting to get worried because the Yankees, they are coming and they are starting to scare me. I know Machado doesn't hustle and he's lazy, but at the same time, he's got a great glove, and he is a good ball player. Bryce Harper is a stud. Bryce Harper is a gamer, and they're starting to get some pitchers in the rotation, and with everybody healthy next year, I'm not going to lie, that scares me a little bit. But someone who is not healthy is Markelle Fultz. He is looking like the biggest bust to ever play. It's sad at this point because I love the Celtics, but at the same time, you got to think the Sixers' heartbreak has to end at some point, but I just don't see it happening. Jimmy Butler, he's been balling out for them, and Joel Embiid is good. Ben Simmons, He's not a shooter, but he's good at the rim. He plays good defense. Fultz, to me, if they had Tatum right now, they would be real damn good. And it scares me because I think that's just how some teams are. And I think some teams will never get out of it. Teams like the Browns, teams like the Sixers, there's just teams out there that are always going to be the bottom of the barrel types of teams. I mean, the Orioles don't look like they're getting out of any type of slump anytime soon. But Fultz left the team, went to go see a shoulder specialist, and won't return until his shoulder is healthy. Then we probably won't ever see him again because something with that shoulder is wrong. They messed with his shot. And honestly, it's just best if he just goes at this point. Trade him for something. I don't know. But Markelle Fultz is just not going to get it done for you. I mean, you're not even starting your first round pick. It's just, you obviously don't have any confidence in him. Why should we have confidence in him? But if we're going to talk about confidence, the craziest thing I read was about how a father of a player dressed up in his reffing gear and walked the sideline and made calls and persuaded the officials to make calls during his son's high school football game. He then went to brag about it on Facebook and said, "I didn't make one bad call. I made sure the best team won. His son's team won 34-27. He admitted that he made sure his team won. Who does that? Who is dumb enough to even go out there and dress up as an official and not just root for your son, but dress up as an official and do that type of thing? Who is dumb enough to do that? But then dumb enough and have the balls to go brag about it on Facebook after. How stupid can you be? How dumb are you? I literally could not believe it. There is a lawsuit being filed and everything, but I mean, it's high school football, sir. And you just cheated these boys out of a chance in the playoffs. I mean, it wasn't even just a regular season game. It was a quarterfinal playoff game. And that to me, that's embarrassing. But I want to ask you, the viewers and listeners, what would you do to make sure your team won a game? And I'm not talking just high school. I want you to tell me your team. And I want you to leave a comment in this video and say what would you do to make sure your team won. And it could be you could deflate footballs. It could be dressing up as an official. It could be throwing a flag when nobody's looking and then someone thinks they have to make the call. I don't know what you could come up with. But I want you to leave a message saying your team and what you would do to make sure they won a game. And it can be the Super Bowl, it can be a championship, or just a regular game. But what would you do to make sure they won the game? I want to see if anyone would go as crazy as what this dad did, or if they would even go further than what he did. I don't know, though, if there's anyone that goes further than Tom Brady when trying to win. But the thing about Brady is he does it the right way. He spent his entire bye week watching the first 10 games of the season, and he said he rewatched them as well. So that means not only did he watch them once, he watched them twice, 3 times. He watched them more than once. Most people go spend time with their families during the bye week. Most people take a little vacation and take some time for themselves during the bye week. Tom Brady's wife already hates him for how long he's played. He does not care. The most important thing to him is winning. And I'm convinced of it. And I know we had Bo on this show, and he's a huge Rodgers fan. And maybe Rodgers can throw the ball a little bit further. Maybe Rodgers now can run a little bit better. Maybe Rodgers can do a little bit more. But nobody wins like Tom Brady. And when I think of quarterback, yes, I want someone who can throw it. And Brady can. I want someone who is so smart with his audibles and can see a play before it even happens. And Brady can. The biggest thing I want in my quarterback is someone who can win. Because a guy like Darnold or a guy like Rosen, they don't seem like winners to me. A guy like even Trubisky the other night, he didn't win that game. He almost let the Vikings back into it, which is embarrassing. But Brady, he just knows how to win. And don't get me wrong, Rodgers has won games, Rodgers has done this and that, but nobody in the history of football has ever won and wanted to win as bad as Tom Brady has. And I think that's what will separate him from anybody else. If I had to give my top 5 quarterbacks of all time, Brady just takes the top 5 because nobody wants to win as bad as he does. And I hate Patriots fans sometimes because they always go off about Brady, but they're right in this sense. Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback to ever live, and the discussion is just over at this point. One discussion we haven't gotten into on my show, and I've had to cool down for a couple days to get into it, is Maine sports. Two specifically. We're going to start with basketball. And I think our basketball team this year has improved. I like the addition of Teron Moss from Portland High School, and I think he's getting more minutes than we thought. They had this number 1 kid. He was a shooter. He reportedly hurt his leg, his knee. We think he tore an ACL we heard from a source. And I think that hurts them. I think Maine, to compete, needs to be able to hit standstill threes, needs to be able to hit shots from the outside, and I don't see them doing that right now. I like what Fleming brings to the team. I think he's a veteran at this point who knows what his role is, and he does it well. Isaiah White is a true baller. He is someone who does it all. He is a dual threat player. He gets to the rim. He shoots from the outside. He makes plays on the defense. He's a leader that Barron needs on this team, someone that knows something about winning and knows something about leading a team. But the thing that scares me about Maine, and what Maine needs to do to change, is win the close ones. I understand you can't compete with the NC States. I understand you're not going to compete and win games against Utah, although they only lost to Utah by 14, and I thought they played well in that game. But it's the North Texas games. It's the Sacred Heart of last year, the Hartfords, those types of games. Maybe they're 8 points, 10 points better than us, but those are the games that you need to find a way to win if you want your program to be different. I think tonight, Maine, they tied, then went into overtime and only scored 3 points. They lost by 11 points, got outscored 14-3 by 11 in overtime. And that's what worries me. Last year, Maine lost like 7 games by 5 or less. And those are the things that make the difference in your season. Those are the things that make you go from a 6 or 7 seed to a 4 or 3 seed. And I mean, that's the difference between a home game and an away game. And in college basketball, it's huge. I think Maine needs to start winning these close games. And I think they're closer than a lot of people believe. And I know they're 0-5. And I know people say, oh, UMaine basketball isn't great. But I see good players and I see potential. I just think that we need to find a way to win those close games. And I like Barron as a new coach. I went and saw their scrimmage. I thought he coached well. I see a lot of positive energy. And I see that the guys like him and are willing to work around him. And shout out to my man, Alan Molnar, number 1 manager. Alan, let's get some wins coming up. A team from Maine, though, that is winning is UMaine football. They are the CAA champs and will host a playoff game on December 1st. Maine has impressed me this year. They were ranked like 8th or 9th in the conference to start the season, and they finished at first. They had a good win against Elon. Our backup QB almost blew, and I don't even want to get into that. But Chris Ferguson is a good quarterback. I was watching him throw on the sideline, and he throws a tight spiral. I think the coach that we have now, the team, is seeing how much he believes in them, and he's really getting into it. And the team is starting to believe in themselves a little bit. I've been reading the tweets lately about no one believed in us. We believed in ourselves. And I think it's true. I mean, there was one tweet that said, we have less and we work with less and we try to be more. And it's true. No one wants to come to Maine and play in snow. There's so many other schools that can offer you with more resources. But some people take a chance, and some people don't have other options because they made mistakes. And I think this Maine team has a lot of guys that saw second chances and took that chance and realized they have talent. They can go somewhere. And Chris Ferguson, it starts with him and ends with him. He's a good quarterback. He has led this team, and I've seen him make plays get outside the pocket. And he goes for those extra 2 or 3 yards instead of sliding. He tries to make that next play. And yes, he has some careless turnovers at times that he needs to clean up. But he wants to win, and you see that. Someone who doesn't want to win is the backup QB. I better never see him again. He was awful, horrific. He completed 4 of 10 passes, threw 2 interceptions. I mean, he completed 6 passes and 33% of them were to the other team. That's terrible. That is an awful stat. I mean, what are you doing? But I'm interested to see how Maine rallies. I hope Ferguson is healthy by the time we get to the December 1st, by the time the game comes around. And I see Maine sports on the rise, but I think it's going to take a lot. I think we need to start winning games to get noticed. But one thing you got to notice is the show tomorrow. My dad is joining. Storm is joining. It's going to be a good show. We're going to break down the 3 NFL football games on Thanksgiving. We're going to talk about the college football playoff coming up. And my dad is going to make the debate that Notre Dame is a top 2 team, not just a top 4 team. Let's see what he brings to the debate. And everybody, please, if you're driving home for Thanksgiving, enjoy time with your family. I'd like to thank my mom and dad for everything they have given me. I love them very much. And make sure you say the same to your parents and your family when you see them. Drive home safely. Everybody have a happy Thanksgiving, and we will talk to you tomorrow. And remember, keep on balling.